You keep living like there's always more time, like life has given you an unlimited extension, like you can delay your discipline, postpone your focus, and still somehow arrive at a powerful future. But the truth is quieter and far more serious. Time doesn't announce when it's leaving. It just moves. And while it moves, most people don't even notice what they're losing because the loss doesn't feel dramatic. It feels normal. It feels like another day of scrolling, another day of thinking instead of doing, another day of telling yourself you'll start soon, and that's the trap, not failure, but comfort that feels harmless, while it slowly pulls you away from who you could become. And if you're honest with yourself, you felt that gap, that difference between where you are and where you know you should be. Not because you lack ability, but because you haven't fully stepped into the level of discipline required yet. And that's not an insult, it's a reality most people quietly avoid accepting. Because accepting it means taking responsibility. And responsibility is heavy. It requires structure, consistency, and the willingness to let go of habits that feel easy but lead nowhere. And the world you're in rewards those who move with intention, not those who wait for the perfect moment, because perfect moments don't exist. They're created through action, through showing up when it's inconvenient, through building momentum one step at a time. And while you're hesitating, others are building. While you're planning endlessly, others are executing, not because they are different, but because they decided to stop delaying and start moving. And that decision changes everything, because life operates like a competitive system, whether you acknowledge it or not. Opportunities are limited, attention is limited, growth requires effort, and those who act consistently rise, while those who delay stay in the same place, wondering why nothing changes. And staying in the same place might feel safe, but over time it creates pressure, because deep down you know you're capable of more. You know there's another version of you that thinks sharper, moves faster, lives with more control. But reaching that version requires urgency, not stress, but focused urgency, where you respect your time enough to stop wasting it, where you treat each day like it matters, because it does. Every hour either builds your future or keeps you stuck in the present. And once you start seeing time like that, your mindset begins to shift. You become more intentional, more selective with your energy, because you understand that distraction is not just a habit, it's a delay mechanism. It keeps you busy without moving you forward. And the longer you stay in that cycle, the harder it becomes to break out of it. Not because you can't, but because you get used to it. And breaking habits requires effort. It requires stepping into discomfort. And discomfort is where growth begins, always. Not in ease, not in convenience, but in those moments where you choose to act, even when you don't feel like it. And that's the difference between those who progress and those who stay stuck. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's consistency under pressure, the ability to keep moving, even when results are not immediate. Because real progress is often invisible at first. It builds quietly beneath the surface, and if you stop too early, you never reach the stage where it becomes visible. And that's why patience and urgency must exist together. Patience to stay consistent, urgency to avoid wasting time. And when you combine both, you create momentum, and momentum changes everything. It builds confidence, sharpens focus, and pushes you further than motivation ever could. But it only starts when you decide to take control of your actions, not your feelings, because your feelings will always try to guide you toward comfort, while your goals require discipline. And discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being consistent, showing up daily, doing what needs to be done even in small amounts. Because small, consistent actions compound into powerful results over time. And this is where most people lose direction. They underestimate the power of consistency. They wait for big changes instead of building small habits. But success is not built in one moment. It's built in thousands of moments where you chose progress over delay, focus over distraction, effort over ease. And those choices are available to you right now. Not later, not when you feel ready, but right now, because readiness is not something you wait for. It's something you build through action, and every time you act, you strengthen that version of yourself, you reinforce discipline, you create structure, and slowly you become someone who doesn't just think about improvement, but actually lives it. And once you reach that point, your entire life begins to shift. Your confidence becomes real, your progress becomes visible, your mindset becomes stronger, because it's built on action, not just ideas. And ideas alone don't change anything unless they are applied. And applying them requires a decision, a clear internal commitment that you are done delaying, done treating your time like it doesn't matter, because it does, more than anything else. And when you start respecting your time, everything else follows. Your habits improve, your focus sharpens, your results begin to align with your effort, and you start separating yourself from the majority who are still waiting for the right moment. And if you've reached this point, if you're listening and something inside you is responding, then don't. Just let this be another video you watch and forget. Take action even here. Hit subscribe right now. Be part of this mindset. We're moving with purpose and we're aiming fast. 1,000 subscribers is the target, and we're not delaying it. So subscribe immediately, like the video, share it with someone who needs direction, and start proving through your actions that you are no longer someone who waits, but someone who moves with intention and builds with focus every single day. And once you make that small but powerful shift, where you stop treating your time like something casual and start treating it like something valuable, you begin to notice patterns that were always there but never fully clear before. You start to see how easily hours disappear when they are not directed, how quickly days pass when they are not structured, and how silently weeks turn into months without meaningful progress if you are not intentional. And that awareness is not meant to create fear. It is meant to create clarity, because clarity removes confusion and gives you control. And control is what most people are missing. Not ability, not opportunity, but control over their attention, their habits, their direction. And without control, even the best intentions fade away. Because intention without action is just a thought. And thoughts alone do not build anything. They only become powerful when they are turned into consistent behavior. And behavior is shaped by standards, the standards you accept for yourself every single day. The standards that decide whether you move forward or stay in place. And if your standards allow delay, distraction, and inconsistency, then your results will reflect that, not because life is unfair, but because outcomes are connected to actions, always. And once you accept that connection, you stop looking for external reasons and start focusing on internal adjustments. You start asking better questions, not why is this happening to me, but what can I do differently today that moves me closer to where I want to be? And that shift in thinking creates momentum, because it puts you back in control. It removes the feeling of being stuck and replaces it with responsibility. And responsibility, when handled correctly, becomes a source of strength, not pressure, because it reminds you that you have the ability to change your situation through your actions. And that's where urgency becomes your ally. Not something stressful, but something focused. Something that pushes you to use your time wisely, to make decisions faster, to act without unnecessary hesitation. Because hesitation often comes from overthinking. And overthinking creates delay, and delay slowly disconnects you from progress. And progress is what builds confidence. Not thinking about progress, but actually making it step by step, even if those steps are small, even if they don't feel significant in the moment. Because over time they add up, they create a pattern of movement, and movement is what keeps you aligned with growth. And the moment you stop moving, even slightly, you risk falling back into old habits. Habits that feel comfortable but don't lead anywhere meaningful. And breaking those habits requires awareness and discipline. Awareness to recognize them, and discipline to replace them with better ones. And that process is not always easy, but it is always necessary if you want to build something different, something stronger, something that reflects your true potential. And potential is not something you talk about. It is something you demonstrate through your actions, daily, consistently, without needing external validation. Because real progress is often quiet. It doesn't always get noticed immediately, but it builds steadily until one day the results become visible. And by that time, the foundation is already strong because it was built with patience and effort, not shortcuts. And that's another thing you need to understand clearly. There are no real shortcuts to meaningful growth. Anything that promises instant results without effort usually leads to temporary outcomes. And temporary outcomes don't create lasting change. Lasting change comes from discipline, from showing up repeatedly, for doing the work even when it feels routine, even when it feels repeated, because repetition is what builds mastery. And mastery is what creates confidence, and confidence built on mastery is stable. It doesn't disappear under pressure. It grows stronger with challenges, and challenges are part of the process. They are not obstacles meant to stop you. They are opportunities to develop resilience, to strengthen your mindset, to prove to yourself that you can handle more than you thought. And every time you overcome a challenge, you expand your capacity. You become more capable, more focused, more prepared for the next level. And that's how growth works. It's a continuous cycle of effort, challenge, adaptation, and improvement. And the only way to stay in that cycle is to keep moving, to keep acting, to keep using your time with purpose. Because the moment you stop, the cycle breaks and rebuilding momentum becomes harder. Not impossible, but harder. And that's why consistency matters so much. Not perfection, but consistency, the ability to keep going even when things are not ideal, even when progress feels slow, because slow progress is still progress, and progress, no matter how small, keeps you aligned with your goals, and alignment is powerful because it creates direction. And direction removes confusion, and when you are not confused, you can focus better, act faster, and build more effectively, and all of that starts with how you treat your time. Because time is the foundation of everything you are trying to achieve. It is the resource you use to build skills, to create opportunities, to improve your situation, and if you use it without intention, you lose that foundation, you weaken it, and everything built on it becomes unstable. But when you respect it, when you use it with clarity and discipline, you strengthen that foundation, and everything you build on top of it becomes stronger as well. Your habits, your mindset, your results, all of it improves, not instantly, but steadily. And that steady improvement is what creates long-term success. Not sudden bursts of effort followed by long periods of inactivity, but consistent, focused work over time. And this is where you separate yourself from those who remain stuck, not by doing something extraordinary once, but by doing what is necessary repeatedly, without delay, without excuses. And that requires a certain level of mental strength, the ability to stay committed even when it's easier to stop, the ability to prioritize long-term growth over short-term comfort. And that ability can be developed. It's not something you are born with. It's something you build through practice, through daily decisions that reinforce discipline. And every time you choose discipline over delay, you strengthen that ability. You make it easier to choose it again in the future. And over time, it becomes part of who you are. Not something you struggle with constantly, but something you operate from naturally. And when that happens, your life changes in a very real way, because your actions become aligned with your goals without constant resistance. And when your actions are aligned, your results follow. And when your results improve, your confidence grows. And that confidence fuels further action, creating a positive cycle that keeps you moving forward. And that is the kind of cycle you want to be in, one that builds you up instead of holding you back, one that uses your time effectively instead of wasting it, one that turns your potential into reality instead of leaving it unused. And it all begins with a simple but powerful decision to stop acting like you have unlimited time and start act like every moment matters, because it does. And when you live with that awareness, your entire approach to life becomes more focused, more intentional, more disciplined, and that is what allows you to create something meaningful, something that reflects your effort, your commitment, your growth. And once you experience that level of control and clarity, you realize that the biggest change was never external, it was internal. It was the way you started valuing your time and using it with purpose every single day. And now you're at that exact point where everything becomes simple, not easy, but clear. Because you finally understand that the difference between the life you have and the life you want is built through how you use your time every single day. And there is no hidden secret left, no missing piece, just execution, just discipline, just the decision to move with purpose instead of waiting for something to change on its own. Because nothing changes unless you change how you act. And the moment you accept that fully, you stop looking for shortcuts, you stop delaying, you stop treating your time like it's something you can waste and recover later. You begin to operate with intention, with focus, with a standard that does not allow unnecessary delay, and that standard becomes your identity. It shapes how you think, how you act, how you respond to pressure, and slowly you become someone who doesn't just talk about growth, but lives it consistently without needing reminders, because you've built that discipline into your system. And that is where real confidence comes from, not from words, but from repeated action, from knowing that you are using your time in a way that moves you forward. And once you reach that level, You don't need motivation. You don't wait for the perfect mood. You just act. Because action becomes natural. And that is what separates those who build something meaningful from those who keep thinking about it. And if you are still here, still listening, then you are not here by accident. You are here because part of you is ready to move differently, to think sharper, to raise your standards, and actually follow through. So prove it. Don't let this just be another moment of listening without action. Step into it right now. Hit subscribe immediately. Commit to this mindset. We are moving with focus and we are hitting 1,000 subscribers. Fast, no delay, no hesitation. Be part of that movement. Like this video, share it with someone who needs direction, and show through your actions that you are someone who doesn't wait for time, but uses it with purpose and moves forward without delay.